Hello everyone, welcome to the February 18th League of Legends DFS slate. Actually getting this out relatively early compared to what I'm normally getting through, so we can hop straight into recapping yesterday. As far as I know, this should be a relatively normal slate, but we can talk about yesterday because there actually was some interesting things happening, so whoops, wrong. I guess that could work too. Wrong video here. Scoreboard. There we go. All right, so the first series, I again didn't make a league video on this slate yesterday. I thought they would be relatively boring, and it actually ended up being super exciting. I still don't think in any world I would have ended up going with Anyone's Legend or Invictus Gaming. I don't remember the odds on these, but I feel like they were both like minus 1,000 or something. But as you guys could see in the first game, AL got the win over LNG. They looked pretty good in this. Betty got his Jinx. Xiaohao got Hecarim, so they got really strong picks. They ended up giving up the Gwen and the Zeri, but the Aurelia Diana just didn't look very good in this comp at all. And AL got ahead. They just kept winning fights and kind of snowballed themselves to a victory. They looked pretty clean. For AL, I believe that's like 3 solid series from them now. Hopefully it shows in the match history. No, it looks like just the 2. So they beat RA, they beat Ultra Prime, and then they took a game off of LNG. I think Ultra Prime and RA are 2 of like the bottom tier teams. And although I do rate LNG very highly, I think LNG are a top 5 team. Just winning a game off them isn't necessarily like that crazy. Just because of the game at the moment, it feels a lot more coin flippy, a lot more upset oriented. I feel like it's just the product of the game at the moment. It's just so much damage, and like items don't matter. They do, but items don't matter as much. Like, it feels like the overall skill gap is closed significantly at the moment, just with how the game is playing. It feels like every ADC plays the same, so as long as you aren't significantly bad like iBoy, then it kind of doesn't matter. It feels like the same thing with supports. Like, I don't know. It just feels like most things don't matter other than like overall team decision making. The second game with the Doinby Zeri mid was pretty impressive. I thought they piloted this pretty well and it looked pretty strong. Zeri is just like a super OP champion, but it was cool to see them have that flex to the mid lane. Then in the third game, LNG managed to kind of just pull ahead. They had the Doinby Corgi. Tarzan looked pretty strong on this Lee Sin. And then AL didn't seem to get their Jinx anymore. LNG kind of learned that Jinx was just so strong for Anyone's Legend and Betty. I feel like that's going to be a problem going forward, is people are going to realize that just banning Jinx against AL is going to be a pretty big problem for them. But I think overall AL have been pretty impressive the last 3 times out, and I think this team is like kind of coming together. They're a team that I already am a fan of. I've said this every time that they've played, but when you're like a fan of this team, when you're a fan of a team, but you're also trying to be objective and break things down, like without your emotions getting in the way, sometimes you could kind of convince yourself the other way. It's kind of like a weighted scale almost. Like I recognize that I am an Anyone's Legend fan. I like these players. So I tend to kind of swing too hard the other way and try to find reasons like to fade them, I guess, because you don't want to, you want to try to remove your bias, but sometimes you just swing too far the other way and then end up not getting to a team like a decent spot. So it's just an interesting dichotomy there with fandom and teams. Um, for me personally, AL is kind of like the only team that I'm necessarily like a fan of. There are some teams like V5 and maybe like RA earlier on that are I have like an affinity towards, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a fandom. But um, I I don't think I tweeted picks or anything for this slate, so I can't really take credit for anything. I know for a fact I would not have recommended AL or IG. I definitely would have just said LNG20, BLG20. Um, although LNG did get the comeback in this series and win 2-0, it was pretty dicey for them. Like AL put up a fight, I think, definitely in these games. And then over in the BLG IG series, what a weird series. So the first game was Doggo Crisp, and then after BLG lost to IG with the Riven, which was actually like pretty sick, I think. This was a pretty sick tech, I think, had to answer the Gwen. And like it was such a weird draft, and then we had the Vigar on the other side with the Yumi Ezreal. It was just a really weird draft and really weird like play out of this game, and it was honestly like somewhat impressive for IG. I think that's 2 series now for IG, so maybe they are deserving of some respect. No, I guess they beat RA and then they lost to V5. So it's pretty tough to tell where they are, but as you guys could see, the kill totals in this 27-16, 35-27, and then 23-15. These teams were down to throw down, so it was just an amazing series to watch, all things considered. And IG did end up getting the upset. Again, I don't remember pricing. I don't think I did. I don't like check the odds that often, because I mainly focus on DFS, where like odds could kind of be a bad indicator, if anything. I think people get a little bit too blinded by the like Vegas odds when looking at esports DFS specifically. So I typically don't look at odds that much, but I do use them as some level of a tool. And I don't remember what the pricing was for this IG BLG series, but I know this is a pretty large upset. I would have had BLG top 5, IG bottom 5 team. Maybe it's time to give IG a little bit more respect. I think like Zika, Shin, like they've been looking a lot better. Lucas has been looking a lot better as support. I don't think Uakai and On have necessarily done that much. It feels like they both kind of play in a way that's just kind of dictated by the rest of their players. So it makes sense. Like that is a solid strategy with this meta. I guess the one thing I haven't even touched on was that Uzi got subbed in for Doggo in game 2 and 3. I mean, you guys know my stance on this probably, but it feels super impossible for Doggo to be expected to perform if the like looming threat of Uzi being, of Uzi replacing him at the drop of a hat. Like the level of pressure that you're putting on Doggo is pretty insane, considering that he's played great for them all year. Like maybe a couple down performances in like individual games, but he hasn't had like a bad series, I don't think. He's been the reason they win a lot of games. So to have this short of a leash on Doggo, pun intended, is just kind of like whack. Like I don't know how else to like put it, but it just seems super weird that they kind of like did Doggo like this. I understand there's a lot of hype and a lot of people who want to see Uzi play. Like I understand that, but I feel like Doggo's the better player. And to sub him out after one game, like I don't know, maybe if like he was just feeling sick and it like impacted his performance or something, like maybe it's a one-off thing like that, and we can kind of just see, maybe we just see Doggo step back in and be the same player. But the looming like threat of this swapping EDs with Doggo and Uzi is like pretty sad, honestly. Like I feel like getting lost in the Uzi hype is the like the sympathy for Doggo. Like so they bring in this player from I believe the PCS. He played for I think it was like PSG in the Vietnamese league or something. I don't know. I know he played really well at Worlds. Yeah, so he played for PSG. I don't know what league they're in. Hong Kong team, yeah, PCS. So I actually had it right. That's honestly impressive. But the point is that so you bring in this really good player, Doggo, who performed really well at Worlds despite him being on a like lower end team. Like he played for a PCS team at Worlds. He performed really well. He looked a lot better than like a lot of other relatively similar expectation. Like he seemed to blow like the LCS and stuff out of the water, and that seems to be like the comparison about the expectations of like a PCS team, like being a wild card region compared to like the LCS, for example. Like he outperformed them like magnificently. Like he looked like one of the best ADs at the whole tournament. And he gets this big money move to BLG where he gets to play with the likes of Breathe, Weiwei, Fofo, Crisp. Like this is touted as like a super team. And then they bring in Uzi, and like the writing was on the wall the whole time, and that's why I've been against Uzi in this team for a while. But it's just like, how can you expect Doggo to perform when you have this looming threat of a legend that everybody wants to see play right behind him? Like, I don't know. We don't know the behind the scenes and all that stuff. Like maybe there's an understanding that maybe they give Doggo some time, and then the expectation is that Uzi will come in and be the starter. Maybe they just wanted to give Uzi some more time to, I don't know, get scrims in and get up to kind of like pace, I guess. Like, but then even then, that just feels kind of like unrealistic as well. So I don't know. Like, I just feel like it lost in the shuffle of the, oh my God, Uzi's back, Uzi played, is like, man, Doggo got screwed. And it feels really bad. Like he played really well. He was like top 5 AD in the league at least. The split, like he's been playing super well. Like he probably would have been, I don't know. I think he would have probably been like number 2 on the All Pro team, like on the All LPL team. I think he's second behind Viper, or at least in my mind at the moment that I'm thinking of. And then he just gets benched after one loss. Like I don't know. That just seems silly. Like. I don't know. Like I just feel bad for him. Like it just feels like an impossible situation, and then also nobody's talking about it because everyone's like, "Oh, Uzi's back." So it's like nobody even has like sympathy or empathy for him. So I don't know. That this is my 2 cents on that. I wanted to kind of write that out, but that was it for the LC or LPL. The I guess like takeaway there is like these top teams aren't invincible. And I think that's probably a product of the game in the state that it's in. Like if you guys, I would assume most people who are playing LoL DFS are at least playing the game a little. But I'm sure you guys know and kind of experience this in your own. Like the like early snowball and like early leads mean so much, and like it's just so volatile because of how much damage everything does. There's not like sustainability or survivability or anything like, and everything just seems so punishing with like you get solo killed and lose turret plates. I think that happened in the game 2 of the AL LNG series where, or no, it was yesterday. It was yesterday from Thunder Talk Top Esports, or 2 days ago now. The top laner for Thunder Talk new got solo killed by 369, I believe. It was the Graves versus Tryndamere matchup, and what had happened is the Graves was winning lane. He was up 20 CS, I think. It was 130 to 110 CS, and then the Tryndamere, pops his ghost, pops his ult, solo kills the Graves under turret, and then he takes like 3 plates and the turret or something. So he was winning. The Graves was winning lane, up 20 CS, doing really well. He even bought defensively, like Ninja Tabby and everything. And even after that, he gets solo killed once, loses, I believe it was either 3 or 4 plates and a turret. So I think that's like 1,000 gold in the matter of like a minute from one mistake. Like he's down like a half of a whole item or something, just off of one mistake getting dove by a Tryndamere. Like it's just so punishing at the moment, and it feels like these sort of things can help catapult bad teams into winning positions. it is tough to replicate or like twice in a series at least. It feels like we saw that with the AL LNG series yesterday. Like they won the early fights and snowballed it pretty hard, and then it seemed like the better team kind of ended up winning there in the end. But like the point still stands that there's a lot of variance at the moment, and I think that's something we need to kind of keep in mind going forward. I believe so. The LCK, I wasn't excited for these matchups. DRX got the upset over Damwon. This was a pretty surprising result. Kwangdong, Hanwha, these are like whatever. Like you borderline don't even need to like know these teams. Like the rate that they're going to hit for DFS is like seems like astronomically low. Like maybe that's worth looking into more as we go on, but we saw it a lot yesterday. Like the kill totals in the LPL yesterday were like it's astronomical. It feels like there was more kills in one game of a LPL series than there was in a whole series in the LCK. So like it's already tough. Like the kill totals are so one-sided to the LPL. The LCK is like COVID rampant somehow. The games are so random. There's like so many like random upsets. It seems like every team is so condensed. Like learning the LCK at the moment just seems like borderline useless, and it just feels like you just play variants and see what happens. Like DRX got the upset over Damwon. Like I know DRX have been playing better as of late, and I know Damwon's not like infallible like maybe how they were anticipated to be, but like they won 9-4, 7-4, 11-9. Like these are so disastrous, and like I think DRX outdrafted them pretty hard, which is weird because I feel like they got outdrafted very hard earlier on, like 2 slates ago or something. Like the last time I saw DRX, like I don't know, like I feel like the Ari is like super underrated in pro at the moment. I've heard of rumors of it being scrimmed pretty heavily in the NALCS at the moment. That is what my inside intel tells me, but so it's weird that it's not seeing the same action in the world at the moment. Like in game 2 it just wasn't even picked at all. Like it feels like it was just a kind of like circumstantial thing, but from what I've heard at least in the LCS is that it's like just a strong power pick. So good for them with the DRX draft to pick up the Ari and get the wins, or get the one win at least. I don't know, it just feels so random at the moment in the LCK, but we try. I guess before we can continue the tradition of doing checking the odds or like making our own odds on these games. I haven't done this in a while, so maybe I'm a tad out of touch with these games, but we try anyway. The first series, we start with the LPL because it matters more. The LGD versus RA. So we remember with RA, they're like, what's the term? They're reeling at the moment. Like they're just losing everything across the board. It feels like they dropped the series to AL. We were on that upset. They lost to IG, who apparently is looking decent now. They lost to BLG, V5, LNG. They beat Top Esports. So they've lost to elite teams, I think, in LNG, V5, BLG. They beat Top Esports, who is a bad team. Then they lost to IG and AL, who are bad teams. But although it could be argued that since the break happened, IG has played well. So let me put this into this context. Since the break, IG beat RA. They went to 3 with V5 in a close series, and they beat BLG in a close series. So in that context, IG are looking pretty strong. Now we look at the other opponent of RA, Anyone's Legend. AL are 2-1 at the moment. They beat Ultra Prime, they beat RA, and then they lost in a close third series as well to LNG. So when you put it in that context, AL are actually looking strong as well. So the reason I say this is because RA LGD, where do we see this at all? That's the thing. So The LGD team, they've only played once since the break, and it was a 2-1 loss to WE. I think that's pretty like laughable, if I'm honest. Like, I feel like WE are really bad, and LGD losing to them is pretty sad as well. I know it's kind of tough to grab data from like over a month ago, but they lost to AL, which is like fine. They're both bad teams. They lost to FPX, who at the time looked very strong. They lost to JDG, who is kind of emerging as a very strong team at the moment, so that's fine. They lost to Ultra Prime, which is pretty bad. Another bad team they lost to. It's two bad teams they've lost to, AL and Ultra Prime. They beat OMG. That was I don't remember if I was on them or not. I don't think so, but I remember that series being pretty close. And, OMG lost it. Again, this is a spot where kind of like OMG's inexperience does come into play. And then we haven't seen them for a while. They take a long break, come back and lose to WE. So it's like, where on earth is LGD's level? Like, where's RA's level? We don't know. I feel like there's a lot of randomness and questions that appear from this. Again, when I do these these lines, they're not guesses. I'm not trying to guess what the lines of the Vegas odds are. If I were to guess the lines on this game, I would say RA would be like minus 170 or something. Like, they're both bad teams, I think, reeling at the moment. But like, they're not useless. So I mean, they're bad, but like they're both in the same level is I guess what I'm trying to say. So when we kind of put it in that context, I feel like we'll go with this. I think LRA are the deserved slight favorites. Like, and I think this is mainly because of what I've just said. Like, they played an arguably hot IG team and an arguably hot AL team. And then in like the rest of the weeks they've played LNG, V5, BLG. So they've played killers, like probably 3 of the top 5 teams in LNG, RA, or LNG, V5, BLG. I don't know, like, I know I've rage tweeted about RA so much, so it seems pretty contradictory of me to like lean that side. This will be one where we'll have to look at the actual odds, and then make a decision. Because I feel like it'll be close. These are 2 bad teams. Like, if RA is like minus 200 or something, then maybe we go on the LGD side. We'll have to wait and see, because I feel like this is super close, like pretty coin flippy overall. And well, I already lost my train of thought there, but like there, it feels like there's like a real possibility that RA aren't that bad. It feels like we've seen enough from LGD to be like, yeah, they're bad. They've lost to WE, they've lost to Ultra Prime, they lost to Anyone's Legend. Like, they have losses to bad teams across 3 different like times, like the start of the year, middle of the year, and at the end part, like super recently. They've lost 2 bad teams, so it just feels like there is a world where RA have played 3 great teams and then 2 bad teams who are super hot. So I guess that's kind of my point, is like there's a lot more potential on the RA side. We'll have to see with lines and stuff, because they both look bad, but I'm leaning RA right now. Maybe I'll probably like them as we look forward. Try to pick up the pace here a little bit. I feel like I've been rambling about nonsense for a while, but the second series, Ultra Prime, a Weibo. So I've been sort of a Weibo gaming hater so far, and it's come back to bite me a lot, because I believe they're 6-1 now. Yep, they're 6-1. So they've looked extremely strong, and I believe they've played some like real teams. They beat EDG, they beat FPX, they beat V5, they 2-0'd AL, they got the win over Thunder Talk, and they've lost in a close series to BLG. They got the win over WE early on as well, but so they've had close wins over good teams, V5 and FPX. They've had close loss to BLG, their only loss of the year. And then they've stomped WE, Anyone's Legend, and Thunder Talk. And then they have the EDG win from a couple days ago. So feels like it's pretty impossible to make a decent case for Ultra Prime here. Like, yeah, like the Ultra Prime team just doesn't have enough, I don't think, here. Like, you guys know I'm like kind of on the Ultra Prime side. Like, I like taking them a good amount. I think they're relatively underpriced most of the time. But this is gonna be a tough one to get behind them at all. We'll have to look at the odds when we, when we compare things. But I think Weibo pretty handed favorite, minus 350. I'd imagine this will be a super inflated number as well, but we'll wait and see. EDG FPX. So I actually do have kind of a hot take in this one, but probably not what you're expecting when I say that. I feel like we get a solid EDG comeback here. So there's not a lot really to talk about with the EDG side. They've kind of just been big favorites and won every single game. But they 2-0 JDG at the start of the year. They 2-0 Thunder Talk. They dropped the map to Ultra Prime. Then they 2-0 OMG. Took a big break. They beat WE and then they lost to Weibo 2 days ago on the 15th. It's 3 days ago. I don't know when you're watching this, but this is more of a FPX fade spot for me, honestly. Like they've had FPX have decent scores here, like when you look at it. So they got the 2-1 over Ultra Prime. Would have liked the 2-0 there maybe, but the point still stands. Like they went to game 3 with Weibo, game 3 with LNG, game 3 with JDG. Pretty impressive. They got 2-0s over AL and LGD. Pretty good for them as well. And they had the series over RNG to start the year. Don't want to put a lot of stock into that because it was first game of the year. So a lot of randomness expected there. But it just feels like FPX have kind of been solved, and their late game shot calling has looked super suspect. And I think EDG, I like it when these big teams get losses like this because it feels like it's kind of a wake-up call maybe that maybe this league isn't so easy anymore. Maybe, like I said earlier, maybe it's a product of the game. Maybe it is a lot of randomness, that kind of thing. But I like it when these teams are still motivated, and it's hopefully that was kind of a wake-up call to the EDG side. I believe that was their first loss, yeah. So that was their first loss. They were 10-1 in map count before then, so maybe they got a little lax. I like them to have a solid bounce back spot here. I like EDG to beat the doors off of FPX. I feel like FPX are a pretty solid DFS team to go against, so I'm going to be pretty heavy on EDG overall. I don't know what the odds or how pricing everything will shake out, but so far my initial lean is to go pretty heavy on this EDG team. Hopefully we can find an underdog to pair up and get a Viper captain. That would be ideal, but we will look and see. Predictory odds, I think it will be closer, but I'm gonna still keep it pretty heavy with the EDG side. Again, these aren't necessarily predictory. I shouldn't have just said that, but these are how I would line these games and how I think these should be priced. If I'm guessing predictory lines, I think it'll be closer. I'd say EDG minus 250. If I'm guessing odds, I think Weibo will be minus 700 or something. I think they'll be super popular, and then I think RA will be about the same. So we can compare these quickly. So RA minus 150, minus 170. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I said was RA would be minus 170. So that's pretty good for that to, make sense there. Seems about right, honestly. But I still think this is a coin flip series. The thing is, we kind of know what LGD is. We know they're bad, but the question marks are, I think, on the RA side. I feel like I kind of made my case earlier of they've lost to 3 really good teams. They've lost to 2 teams who are looking really good now. So it's maybe they are just a middling team who's played teams at the wrong time. again, like I don't like the RA players. I feel like Leanne and iBoy are so bad. They're dragging this team down so bad. I don't know why Yu Yanja is still playing over Zora. Like, there's just a lot of things I don't like with the RA side. Um, maybe I'll probably end up leaning the LGD side and just kind of hoping for variance and hoping that these are just both bad teams. But I do have I kind of just have a gut feeling that RA are like kind of still just a step above, and maybe RA just get the 2-0 and are on their way. That's my only concern here, is that it feels like all the upside is with the RA side, and we know LGD are kind of just bad. So Weibo Ultra Prime, kind of about what I said. I expect this to be pretty one-sided. I think Weibo should get the job done 2-0. Then I'm kind of surprised EDG, FPX is that close, honestly. But it makes sense. FPX have kind of been reeling. They've been losing. And then EDG are still elite despite having the one series loss. So the LCK, I didn't bother. I don't bother making lines for this, honestly. Like, maybe this is wrong of me and you guys can let me know, but like, I don't care about this about the LCK so much. Like everything I said earlier, the kill spread is just so one-sided. So let's look and see. So the lowest LPL combined kills per minute is 0.73. Head over to the LCK. The highest is 0.72. So the least bloody team in the LPL would be the bloodiest team in the LCK. That kind of antithesis my point. Like, you borderline don't even have to look at the LCK games here. Like, it's obviously worth having it in mind. Like, there is going to be some scenarios. Like, let's limit it to this slate so we know. EDG, FPX, LGD. They're playing Ultra Prime, right? Yeah, Weibo. Who's the last team? RA. And then over in the LCK, it is KT T1. And then Genji Live Sandbox. So Genji Live Sandbox actually kind of do look decent-ish. The average what is going to be like, what, 0.7 and a half or something. But then you look over in the LPL, then you have like LGD and Ultra Prime at 0.95, 0.93. You have FPX EDG at a 0.8. Even RA Weibo at 0.7, 0.3. Or 0.7 and 0.77 and 0.73. Like, it's just so one-sided. Then to compound on top of that, like, we don't know who's playing for Genji. Like, is it just going to be Zest replacing Doran? Like, we just don't know. I believe the Sandbox side should be normal. And I believe the KT and T1 are actually normal as well. But, like, so the only series that looks usable... Did I close it already? Okay. Well, whatever. The only series that looked usable was the Genji Live Sandbox one, and we still don't even know who's going to be playing. And it is the late slate, so we don't know who's going to be playing before we start. So that's why maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys still want to hear about the slate, the games and stuff at least, but like, I just don't even want to waste my time, honestly. Like, I don't know. It just seems borderline silly to kind of talk about these games. Like, I don't know, off the top of my head, Genji should just 2-0, but we don't even know who's playing, so does it matter? And then T1, like, although I think T1 are pretty overrated overall, do you ever want to use a team against T1? Like, even if KT like 2-0, are they going to be that great? Probably not. So I just want to ignore that. So we can cull the field already pretty drastically. RA, LGD, this is probably where we need to make a decision. So it looks like, let's look at pricing. It looks pretty close to both sides. It looks like you're not even getting that big of a discount on RA LGD. There is a substitute for LGD. The LGD mid laner the LGD mid laner is getting replaced. So I don't know why I keep forgetting to bring up the lineups here, but Here we go. So on the RA LGD side, it's the same for RA, Cube, Leon, Strive, iBoy, Yuyanja. Then for the LGD side, we have Jay coming in for G. We can talk about Jay. Jay for LGD. So he played for Vici. That's probably like the only time that he got significant LPL action was a while ago for this Vici team. Looks like he's been playing down in the LDL. Maybe this is just kind of biased, but I don't really like it when LPL players go back down to the LPL or to the LDL. So he was there from 2018 to 2022 or to 2020. So what is that? 2 years? So like a little over 2 years he spent on Vici, and he goes back down to an LDL team. That doesn't inspire much confidence. But again, like I don't know if is that much better than Yeji. Oh, sorry, I don't think so. So like I don't know. So maybe that's just more of a reason to go to the RA side, but we'll see. Weibo, Ultra Prime look normal, the same. Hope the third game is down here. Flandre, JJ, yeah, everything's normal. We still have Clid for FPX. I kind of wish they would just go back to Beishuan. It feels like they had some magic with Beishuan that we aren't getting with Clid. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with RA, Weibo, EDG. It feels kind of gross to go with 3 favorites, 3 LPL favorites. I know I just got done preaching like this game is so random and underdogs are happening a lot, but it just feels hard to get behind any of these teams. Like I'm not even being exaggeratory when I say my favorite Ultra Dog or 100 Prime would probably be Ultra Prime. I feel like their players are the more likely to like do well, and I feel like the players on the Weibo side are like the more likely to do badly, if that makes sense. So the problem is it's just so hard to give like an actual reason to why I like Ultra Prime, and maybe it's just because I'm just innately a Weibo hater now. Like Weibo used to be my team. Like the year that Weibo made it to the World's Finals, like I had money on them to win Worlds at like 19-1 or something, and they made it to the finals. They ended up losing to Damwon, but the point still stands. Like I like this team a lot. I like their players. Like I don't know, they should win. It just feels like they have the most potential to lose, and I don't know. It's just tough, but. Well, that'll be it there. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, but it's going to be pretty much telling you nothing because it's just picking 4 LPL favorites. I actually like RA. I think I'll go with my gut here and just say I think this is the spot for RA to bounce back and look like a decent team. I feel like this is kind of a little weirdly priced, if I'm honest, but you know, it makes sense. Maybe this is me buying RA for the last time. I feel like I've had RA so many times they've let me down every time, but it just feels like all the upside is on the RA side, you know, kind of with all the points I made earlier. I feel like Weibo are just significantly better. It's maybe time for me to realize that. And I feel like this is a good bounce back spot for EDG. So that's going to be it for the picks. We can look at the players real quick and get an idea. So EDG, I'm already forgetting Weibo and RA. So let's see, are there any players we need to sort out? Yeah, we can get rid of him at least. Man, that's just sad. You look at Zora, 50% win rate, Yuyanja 14% win rate, but it's still Yuyanja getting the time. I don't know. It's whatever. So kill participation, JJ, Viper, Zora, Lan, Mako, Strive. So it looks like RA and EDG are the places you want to be. Looks like jungle AD support. Support jungle mid. Then we have the Weibo guys, Angel on, SFM, Huanfeng. For the top laners, it's not great pretty much anywhere. So maybe you just kind of go with whoever's cheapest, whoever fits that stack. I don't know, maybe just RA. I think I have an idea for my build and how I want to go. I think I'm going RA and EDG. Maybe we should have looked at the teams to figure out which team. So LPL team, nope, that's players. LPL teams. So we have Fun Plus, Edward. Man, I'm already just like in one ear at the other. It was RA against LGD. So we look at in wins, LGD do really well. Edward Gaming do really well in wins. Let's see who gives more in losses. Looks like LGD and FPX are both up there in losses. Let's see. Overall, LGD, FPX, EDG. Typically, I like to go with whoever I expect to lose. I like to value whoever loses. Like how much do the losers die more than how much do the winners kill. Hopefully you guys followed me there, but I feel like when the teams put themselves into position to die more, it's kind of doesn't matter how much the teams who like to kill do. Looks like they're pretty close with the LGD and FPX side, but it looks like just from the winning standpoint, it looks like EDG maybe puts the pace a little bit more. So maybe I'll lean EDG and have RA as my secondary. Maybe it's not possible. I'm gonna have to tinker with construction a little bit, but unfortunately, I'm probably just gonna end up going like double jungle with RA EDG and kind of figuring it out from there. I know this is not kind of exciting or what you guys really want to hear, but that's just kind of what I'm feeling and what I lean. And I don't want to force underdogs that I don't have any confidence in. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling RA have a good game, make a statement win here. I feel like they're kind of like due for one. I don't know. I feel like EDG kind of have the wake up call and a reason to have a good performance here. And I feel like the skill differential between Weibo and Ultra Prime is just too wide. And then I've made my case on why I don't even want to talk about the LCK games. So unfortunately, just going with the favorites here. Don't love them much. Don't love anything really. It's kind of boring. Unfortunately, that kind of how it shakes out sometimes. But that's going to be it for me today. I have CSGO and Call of Duty to record, so I probably spent way too much time talking about this, but I like to have my rants in there. So that'll be it for me tonight. Don't know what tomorrow's slate's looking like, but probably have a video because I believe it should be another 3-game LPLer. So that's what we'll look at, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Hopefully we have some hotter takes, but that'll be it for me today. Best of luck to you guys tonight, and I will see you tomorrow.